Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Wisteria here. This is called Betty Fox and the Treasure. Betty Fox was a wheelwright's wife and she lived at Roxeter. Long gone were the days when she was beautiful Betty, or Betty the Belle. Now they called her Old Mother Fox. Long gone was the first flush of love and romance, though she and her husband muddled along together well enough. He worked hard doing his best to provide for them, and she'd brought up a whole brood of children. But Betty was tired of being poor. She'd had enough of scraping by and making do. She dreamed of going into Shrewsbury to buy herself a new dress, of cooking steak and onions, of her neighbours looking at her in admiration once again. Betty lived not far from the ruins at Roxeter, where they said there was once a great and beautiful city, though there was little more than buried rubble there now. Every now and then, people digging their taters or out ploughing would turn up an old coin from the city. Betty's eyes had always been sharp, and they hadn't dimmed with age. Whenever she was out and about, she would keep a lookout. She would walk with a stick, swishing down the nettles and poking amongst the brambles, just in case. One night, Betty was sound asleep, dreaming she was walking towards Roxeter, down Horseshoe Lane. She was swishing her stick as she walked along, and something caught her eye. There was a big alderbush, and it was growing out of the bank by the side of the lane. The ground beneath the alder cracked open, white light spilling out of the crack. Inside, nestled in the earth, she could see a pile of silver coins shining. Betty reached down to pick up one of the coins, but just as she was about to take it in her hand, she woke up. "Husband," she cried, "husband, wake up. I've just had the most wonderful dream. There was a beautiful light and so many silver coins." "You daft old besom," he said. "What are you doing, waking me up in the middle of the night with your flights of fancy? Go back to sleep and let me do the same." He rolled over, pulled the blankets over his head, and soon the room reverberated to the sound of his snoring once more. Betty took a little longer to fall back to sleep, but at last her breathing slowed, and there she was, back on the lane, walking towards Roxeter. There was the alderbush. The ground parted beneath the tree. She could see the tree roots and the silver pool of coins gleaming white. She reached out to touch them and found herself back in her bed. "Oh, I saw it again! A big pile of beautiful coins, and I know just the place. Oh, husband, husband, put on your clothes and let's go and have a look." "You foolish old woman, that's twice you've woken me now. If you don't let me sleep, I won't be in a fit state to earn any real coins tomorrow, and I don't think the rent man will take your pretty dream coins to pay for the roof over our head. For pity's sake, go to sleep." As soon as Betty closed her eyes, she was back on Horseshoe Lane. She was standing in front of the alderbush and looking at the silver coins cradled between the roots. And as she bent down to pick them up once again, she started awake in her bed. Her husband was still snoring. "Well now," thought Betty, "there's power in dreams, and there's power in threes. If you dream the same dream 3 times, you'd be a fool to ignore it, my girl." Betty crept out of her bed and grabbed a shawl to wrap around her shoulders. She found a walking stick and a spade. The moon was nearly full, and her silvery light lit Betty's way as she walked down the lane. At last she saw the silhouette of the alder in the hedge. She sliced the ground with a spade and started to dig. It wasn't long before the spade shattered an old earthenware pot and silver coins spilled out. Betty could barely believe her eyes. She scooped up handful after handful and hurried home with the apron full. When she reached home, she saw a light in the kitchen, and there was her husband sat at the table with a candle, woken by the cold, empty bed. Before he could ask where she'd been, she put a twopenny dish on the table and let all the silver coins pour into it. "Well, fool or no fool, I've found the treasure," she exclaimed. Her husband's eyes grew round and round, and he pulled his wife into his arms. Betty and her husband sold the coins, and it said she made so much as £30 for them. She put away a walking stick and put on a new dress. When she walked down the lane that spring, she had it in her step again, and the sparkle in her eyes were enough to make all the neighbours' heads turn, that's for sure. The end. Very interesting. So, yeah. And I understand that about dreams. Still said today, of course, that dreams mean something, don't they? And the treasurer too, I suppose. You have to remember as well that £30 back then was a lot of money. Okay, it wasn't like it is now, it was a lot back then, so thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that folk tale. Please hit that like, share if you can, and if you're not yet subscribed and want to do so, then please do, because it really helps. Many blessings.